Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast with no name. I am Ebony,
And I'm Paris.
and this is Ari, a real discussion. Today, we are talking about
The Four Agreements.
four agreements,
And today we are on the third agreement, which is don't make assumptions.
which
That's
is very
notes.
confusing because the chapter says four, even though that's the third agreement.
Look, there's an intro. Okay. There was a whole intro to the book.
Gotta confuse us.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read like the quick little paragraph, like intro to the third agreement, and then we'll talk about like our notes from there.
Okay.
So it says, the third agreement is don't make assumptions. We have the tendency to make assumptions about everything. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. We could swear they are real. We make assumptions about what others are doing or thinking. We take it personally. Then we blame them and react by sending emotional poison with our words. This is why whenever we make assumptions, we're asking for problems. We make an assumption, we misunderstand, we take it personally, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. Yeah. And I agree. That's all of us. Everybody. Somebody does something and you're starting to like go through your mind of like why they do that. They don't like me. What is like the reason they did that? There's an ulterior motive. It can't be helped. We all do that. But it was saying the part that I had highlighted next, it says we create a lot of emotional poison too, because usually we start gossiping about our assumptions. So, because do you think like usually like somebody does something and you don't ask them, so you feel some kind of way about it? So of course you're gonna go to like your closest friend or your spouse, your partner, whatever, and you're gonna be like, hey, this and that happened today. You're gonna tell the story and then whatever, and then you're gonna be like, you know, you like, oh, she was trying to set me up, or she was trying to do this, that, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But you never ask the question. You're assuming that this person has this type of motive or this type of thing going on. And that must be the reason. And not only that, now you went and gossip to somebody else about it. So that person also, might have this type of look on it, but also you've like reaffirmed yourself in like how you feel, like they're saying that emotional poison of that assumption you made about whatever situation.
So put it in context, give an example, because like I think like to a small degree, all of us do this, but I feel like it may be the foundation of how most people communicate.
Absolutely, because I think there's a difference between saying, hey, this happened and I'm trying to like break this down. I don't want, you go to a person and say, I don't want to, overact. I don't want to, blow something up if it's not necessary. So you try to relay the story back to a person that way. And you're trying to be like objective, right? But then there's a thing when you go, bit, let me tell you what happened at work today. And then you're telling the whole story, and then you're giving some background about the person, and you're like, and they blah 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 blah, and so you're also introducing them to like all the other experiences and then the assumptions you have about that person and that situation and things like that. So absolutely, it's a completely different way of communicating. One was like asking for advice, and the other one was gossiping.
So is there a difference between assumptions and discernment?
Absolutely.
Or maybe not, discernment's not the word. Like for instance, sometimes you get the answer, you instinctively know the answer, and that you do not need confirmation, and it comes back to be exactly what you said it was. Is that an assumption?
No, because you said that was instinctively. Like that's like you said, your instinct, your third eye, whatever, telling you like, hey, here's a red flag or here's something. Usually I would expect that comes from a lot of experience in this particular area. But I think an assumption would just be muddled like emotions.
So assumption is a lack of experience.
With that situation or that person or something, I mean, in a way, yeah.
Because you just said that you can come and tell a person what's going on at work and you give them a track record. So people's behavior is like the track record of people's behavior, is that considered experience or is that considered assumptions?
Um, I think it depends on how like intimately you know that person.
Got
But
it.
at the same time, you can only work off of like how you've interacted with them. So it's kind of twofold. It's experience and assumptions, but also depends on like what area you work in. If you're in like a work relationship and the person is your boss, you may feel like they're bossy or harsh, or you may also feel like they're lazy, like they give you more work or something like that. Um, but the dynamic is that there is a subordinate and there is, someone who has more power. So the relationship and the experience could kind of be off as far as how you really know that person. You only know them from what you experience. Um, but it may not 100% be the truth. But it definitely is yours, of course. But it doesn't necessarily say that this person is exactly like that way.
Okay.
But maybe it's like this person is exactly that way at work.
Well, can a behavior show up a particular way at work and show up a different way at home? So, for instance, that person may not do that at work, but they do a variation of that at home. So, for instance, say like if I say a person is controlling, and at work they're directly controlling, but when they go home, maybe it's, you know, indirectly. Maybe it's, when more manipulation, but still bossy, but doing it in a manipulative way. So maybe the people at the house may call it manipulation, but then people at work call it bossy. Is it not the same thing?
Maybe, maybe. But that's the whole point. You had to ask questions.
So in saying that is always my thing with this one. I tend not to make a lot of assumptions because I already know my brain is a little different than people. So I'm known, for the most part, I get in a lot of trouble because I ask questions for clarity and people think
Mhm.
that I'm trying to be funny. And I just realized that people have their own truth. And the way you use the word or an ideal of something may not be how I use it. So when I ask for clarification, if you are a person who make assumptions, then you get offended easily. Like, well,
Mhm.
why she's asking so many questions? And it's again because I want to be able to connect or answer or respond or, give you whatever it is that you need from an understanding and not from a knowing, because I think that there's a difference between knowing and understanding. You may see a behavior and you go, I know that behavior, but you don't understand why that person is doing that behavior. So five people can be doing the same behavior, but it could be for five different reasons, right? So yeah, you know the behavior, you know it, right? But you don't understand the behavior. And I think that that's where the clear and assumptions come from, which is asking questions for understanding. Instead of just keeping it surface like, okay, I know what that is. It's now, taking one step further and going, but why is it that? Why is this happening?
Right. And I think especially in the relationships that you have the closest to, it's very important to ask those questions and not assume, um, uh, the reason why someone is doing this, because you're gonna create a lot of like bitterness ultimately. And it goes on to say that, well, like the people saying emotional poison, because your assumption, you absolutely believe that this person is this way. And so if you believe that later, I imagine things are gonna only like reaffirm what you think. Um, because it's just more and more assumptions you're making based off of this one. And so, like, even with me and my husband, like, he'll say something, I'll be like, are you saying that to be rude, or is your tone just like, he was like, no, he's like, oh, my bad. My tone was just like a little hard. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I just want to, like, I'll ask for clarification. I'm like, yo, are we in a fight? We gonna fight? Like, I ask firsthand because you never know. Sometimes it's like, people say something, you have a discussion, and it might be something to you that sounds like a little harsh, but it's just maybe, a person, sometimes we just don't pay attention to our tone. We're distracted in something, and our tone may just maybe a little different, a little harsh, sharper than we intended it to be, responding to someone. So sometimes I even have to ask for like that clarification, even in the middle of a disagreement of being like, I think my husband asked me the other day, he's like, are you being shady? I was like, no, but if it sounds that way, so I can be honest in that. I'm like, I'm not being shady, but if it sounds a little shady. But um, but it's interesting because the next part he says, because we are afraid to ask for clarification, we make assumptions and believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong. Right. So I think that's so interesting. It's like not only did we come to our own conclusions, but we work very hard to make what we thought the correct answer.
And I have so many people in my life who do this, who are committed to misunderstanding you. It does not matter how much information you give them, how much you tell them, how much you try to correct them. They will not update their opinion. Once they decide that it is this, no matter what you do, it's not going to update their opinion. They are committed to misunderstanding you. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't ask for clarity. They didn't repeat back to you. So you're not sure if they got it. But regardless of what you're saying, they're not going to update their opinion. And I find that so sad and frustrating because it's very frustrating when you're trying to communicate to a person who is committed to misunderstanding you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have someone who I love like dearly who has that problem, and I think like they've gotten a little better at that. But I remember at one point in time, like I even gave like physical evidence, like look, like no, like this is what it is, and they was like nope. And I was like, okay, I wouldn't ask a friend to pull up something. And there's another friend. And they were like, no, that friend could have just been like, I'm like, we were just talking. That friend has no reason to have that information or something. Like, how did I get the chance to like let that friend know that this was, going to come up or something? And he was like, nah, it's not true. It's just like, it's so frustrating. And also, like, in that, it causes a serious, like, uh, drift in the relationship. Like, it really damages a relationship for a person who's like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because then the person starts to think if this is only what is coming to the surface, what is below the surface, what lies below the surface. Like if you were so quick to come to this conclusion, how many other conclusions you then came to?
Absolutely.
Right. It starts to create a snowball, and then every single time it could be an isolated incident, but you're going to link it back to the last time and the time before that and the time before that and the time. So yes, it's a slippery slope. You want to be a person who is seeking understanding and not just to know.
Right. Right. Because he said, we only see what we want to see and hear what we want to hear. We don't perceive things the way they are. We have the habit of dreaming with no basis in reality.
Mm-hmm.
We literally dream things up in our imaginations.
Yes. And that's why I think while being an idealist is, why would you not? Like, like if you have the option to dream or think better, you should, right? But it should be grounded in reality. You could be both a realist and an idealist at the same time, right?
I'm delusional.
Huh?
I said I disagree. I'm delusional, but go ahead.
Like I am, for the most part, obviously, I am more aware of reality than most people in, especially when it comes to like society and human nature. It's like definitely I'm aware. But I feel like that's what makes me so, it gives me humility to make me show up and be so like happy and practice idealism, because it's like, okay, I know this is the way things are now, but it could be this. Let's work towards this. But again, I do stay in reality, and I feel like most people find their reality or the reality of things too hard to deal with, and so they choose idealism as a way to escape.
Interesting. Okay. I can I can see that. Okay, I can see that. My complete opposite to yours is I live in the world of delusion. So everything is cool. I'm a Disney princess and I'm Mulan and uh I'm Mulan because I keep that mother everything. I'm joking. But one of the other Disney princesses, and life is sweet, and I'm adorable, and just cute, and people want to help me and do these things, and I don't notice other people either because I live in my own bubble. And the few times that my bubble was cracked is when I gotta use money. And I'm like, dang, life is real. Buying groceries is expensive. Then my bubble is cracked. My delusion is broken. But other than that, I'm just like, I said, I'm 2023 is gonna be a year of delusion. I'm like, yo, be delusional. Walk out there and be Beyonce every day. Okay. You know what? Them pants, might show your fupa a little bit, but so what? They're cute. And the fupa gives it an extra character. It's okay. 2023 is a year of delusion. I'm living in straight up delusion. But I'm not gonna
So,
make no assumptions.
so that is the view of Paris and does not reflect our channel.
The views stated on this channel do not reflect any.
I just said,
Look,
I
I've
don't
been
know. Do
telling
you
you for
feel
a
like
while.
it's, do you feel like it's beneficial to be deluded?
Absolutely. I'm happy. You can be very happy in that space. I don't think you have to be like unrealistic because the world is still the world, things are still happening. But you can definitely be like in a happy space. Think about the Christmas season and how much like more festive and everything is like it's a season of giving. And so that's when people want to be like more generous, they're more gentle in nature. They want to, when I worked in retail and stuff like that,
I
like
worked in retail my whole life. That's the worst time of the year.
I didn't have that. I didn't have that
So you,
experience.
well, you just said you deluded. You probably had it, but you don't know. You was in your.
Maybe. But also at the same time, like if somebody's mean, I'll be like, beep, 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 beep. And then I move on to the next person and it's cool. Like it probably leaves me a little quicker than some other thing. Also, you know me. I'm also like delusional in the fact that I don't know when people are being mean or rude. So I'm like, they we gotta be mean. And I'm like, okay, that's what's up. Have a nice day. And people are looking like, I was trying to be so mean to her. And I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. Like you came and like people come up anywhere to ask me a question. I was like, hey, how you doing? Come on, speak a butt. I help you find what you're looking for. Like again, maybe I've always lived in the world of delusion because I'm like, why would people be mean to me? I don't even know you. So I'm like, they're not mean to me. They're just angry. Come on, let me help you. Let me help you, grumpy gills.
Assumptions are hard just because the lack of information creates fear and makes you feel out of control. So it causes stress.
Absolutely.
So I find if you want to be less dramatic, if you want to have more clarity in your life, stop making assumptions. Go out and do the research, ask the questions, piss the people off. It is what it is. Like
Yeah.
the best thing you could do for your internal world is to be clear and concise and not have any internal conflict about, oh, what that person mean. Maybe she was trying to be nice, maybe she was trying to be mean. I don't know. What should I say? No. just ask for clarity. Just speak up, say what you know you should say, ask what you know you should ask,
Yeah.
or make
Um,
assumptions.
yeah, so it says if others don't tell us something, we make assumptions. And if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fulfill our need to know and to replace the need to communicate.
And so I made this promise to myself that I explicitly mind my own business. I have 4 rules. 4 rules. If you don't pay my bills, if you don't come
Mm-hmm.
inside, if you didn't come from inside, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't wash my butt, I cannot, I cannot, I have to mind my business. It's,
Mm-hmm.
investing in things that are outside of your control when people did not ask for your help is activating your ego. You want to be super saver hoe, and ain't
Mm-hmm.
nobody asked you for yours. You're nothing, okay? Explicitly mind your business. Now, I don't mean in extreme situations. If you're downstairs beating your kids, I'm calling the cop. I said it. I'm calling 911, okay? But
Just
outside of
it.
stuff like that, I'm minding my business. Nobody is a victim here. I'm minding my business.
I don't know. I feel like I mind my business, but also like I feel like recently in my old age, like if there's a clear wrong, I'm gonna be that person just like walking in a circle, like smacking kids, like what you doing? Don't do that. But I've been, I already say I hate other people's children, but that's a different conversation. Or like someone's doing something, I just like after I told you about one particular situation, but after like witnessing, and it was so small even then, perhaps maybe in the grand scheme of things, but witnessing something and just being like, and not stepping up to just be like, even just like, hey, calm down. There's a lot of people here, like, chill out. It just made me feel so dirty. Like later, just like, a situation like I knew like that was wrong. That was right there. And I didn't say something because I felt like it wasn't my business or, you know, um, it happened in public, but that's between them two or whatever. And it just was like, for the greater like good or understanding of people, why can't you just like even in that situation be like, even a little something, I'm like, oh, excuse me, sir. Like I could distract him, like, excuse me, sir. I need this or that or something like that, to do that just to like de-escalate the situation and distract from it. So now in my older age, some of those things I feel like I want to step up and say something. Or just like maybe make the bold statement that I want to. Just like in funnier situations, we talked about this. Like I say something, you be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just wanted to know." I just wanted to know, like, what happened? What's going on? Like, what are they going to do? Like, we might get in a fight. I'm like, I doubt it, because at the same time, I'm gonna be like, breathe in. We don't need to do this.
Mm-mm. My mama named Joe, not me. I don't want to know. Okay, I want to know if it don't got nothing to do with my life. Listen, I got so much going on in here. I'm trying to solve problems that are relevant to my life, practical problems. I don't have time to take on yours. What I realize is that a lot of us rob other people of their opportunity to empower themselves. You see somebody being bullied, and in their mind, they think that they're powerless. And they think, oh, I'm waiting on somebody to save me. Every time you step in and you save them, you reaffirm into them that they can't save themselves. And then they keep going on in life, not talking, not standing up for themselves because they waiting on somebody to come and save them. Sir, ma'am, this is your lesson. You can have it happen to you over and over and over and over until you decide to learn the lesson. If it's gonna keep happening and keep happening, it's up to you to do something different. Not me. It's not up to me. It's up to you.
And
Now,
you
do I
also
feel good about watching it? No, but then now I need to go into myself because I'm triggered. So now I need to go, why do I not feel good about watching something that does not have anything to do with me? Why do you have feelings behind that? You shouldn't care.
I don't agree with that because I feel like you wouldn't want that to be you or someone you loved. So
It
I
was
feel
me. And it made me stronger because it taught
it
me
was
to
you
stand up for
also.
myself.
Yeah, but also like your mother forced you to confront it. That's different. You were forced to confront
But
it.
that's as a child. I'm talking about adults. Like as a child, yes, my mom forced me to confront it. When I went out to the adult world, the first couple of times that I had an instance, I ran from the conflict. But then I realized running just made it worse and worse until it was just time for me to speak up and say what I had to say. And then I made a habit of that. Now, not as children. Definitely, if you see your child getting bullied, you should do so. I'm talking about adults. Like they have to speak up for themselves. They're not disempowered. You don't need a savior. You are your savior. If something is going on, you could do one of the two things. It's one thing if I see somebody being bullied and they go help me and I walk past them, then shame's on me. But if they being bullied and they don't look out and say, hey, help me, then it's not my concern. People have to learn to either save themselves or request the help that they need. When you step in, you feeding your ego without them saying, can I have your help? Or solving their own problem, you are feeding your God, your savior complex. That I know what's right to save this situation. I have what it takes to save you, and all you doing is affirming to that person that they can't save themselves and that it is a savior outside of them that they're waiting for. And I don't affirm that.
But I think in some situations, the people may not necessarily have that yet. And sometimes a situation could be like very aggressive. And then that's when you would want to step in, you know, because you're more capable of handling that situation than they are.
I'm a person who walk by faith. If I walk up and that situation is aggressive, you know what I hear? The universe, source, God, Allah, Jehovah, whatever you want to call him, her, whatever, have given you this lesson so many times and you have ignored this so many times. First, it came to you like a whisper. You ignored it and it got more and more and more severe to now it's aggressive in your face. Now it's definitely not the time for me to step in. You're not learning your lesson. You're not about to convince me that our creator will give you the lesson the first time in the most harsh way possible outside of being a kid. I don't agree with that. You had many different scenarios where you were supposed to step up, handle this situation, and you didn't, and it became more aggressive. So if it's aggressive, it's because you allowed it to be that way.
I don't 100% agree with that. And also, I think like that's why also you're supposed to have like a place of community of people looking out for each other, because there are those people who are crazy, who just, especially if you ever lived in LA, the people who just are crazy and they just instigate things like that. And you may be a person who's non-confrontational and it's hard for you to get out of that like situation or dynamic with this type of like crazy like person, where you know some people might try to do it in like joking and gesturing, but that may also incite the person to be like more angry because they think you're patronizing or something, or you know whatever. But it's like some people are very like awkward in that situation. They know how to control it, and you might be like just get up and leave. Like sometimes I have to tell people like just leave, like you're doing whatever, like just leave.
So again, you are affirming to them that someone needs to tell them what to do to solve the problem. He got that in him. He know he should leave. Like again, we should stop acting like people are not capable of taking care of themselves. They
I don't think
choose
that
not to
people
do
are, but
that.
sometimes people for I think sometimes people don't realize that they have another answer, another solution. And so sometimes by example or teaching them, then they learn in that way, like, oh, there is another solution to that.
No, after a certain age, you too old to have weaknesses in this world that you don't see and work on. I'm not trying to hear that. If you 35 and you getting to the point where you in a situation and it's getting volatile and you don't get up and do something about it, the problem is how are you spending your time? You're a whole adult out here operating like a kid. You should learn what you need to know so that you're fit. Like socially awkward, okay, you're a kid. I give socially awkward to 20 something and below. If you talking about you socially awkward and you 30, 40, 50, it means that you are choosing to be that. You got all this information out here in all of these different scenarios where you could practice and get better at it, but you choose not to do that. So what you telling me is you choosing not to up level your weakness because you want somebody to step in and save you. That's not helping people. I'm going to look at you now. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say nothing, in the sense of like, I may not physically say nothing, but if I'm in a scenario and something going on and I'm looking at you and I'm sending all my energy to you, like, what you going to do? But what I'm not going to do is take the opportunity for you to be autonomous and solve that problem on your own. What you don't realize is that a lot of children were raised that way. And once they go out into adulthood, they can't figure out how to solve their problems because an adult always jumped in. And then when they're in the work environment or when they're out and about, they make other people feel uncomfortable. So somebody else jumps in and solves the problem. And they never learn how to solve their own issues. This is your life. You have to learn to manage it. Nobody else gets the benefits or the consequences of your life. They just don't. Even though you want them to, they just don't. You have to do your part in understanding, like, okay, what lesson am I supposed to learn? And am I actually learning the lesson? If I don't get it now, it's going to come back more aggressive. And it's going to keep coming back until it knock my blicker blacker off.
Blicker blacker. Okay, I can agree with parts of that. Well, we're running out of our time limit, so I think we're just going to end that here. But it was a good discussion. Again, I hope you guys go out and read the book. Again, it's the 4 agreements, and we went over the 3rd agreement: do not make assumptions. So this was a podcast with no name, and this was ARD, a real discussion. And I'm Paris.
I'm Ebony.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.